the Chiddush of the Rebbe and this manner of the whole sugya. So this manner is just a gimel that Rebbe brought different kinds of nisim. Moving based slowly is national Nes And Teva, that's always based slowly. If we brought the Rebbe brought three different kinds of nisim on Nes And Teva. One is that it's a Nes. One is that you don't see it's a Nes, but it's for something out of the ordinary. And another one is inbound Nes And Teva, you don't even see. You don't see anything out of the ordinary. The other one I'll explain is if Gimel Dalet Hey, Rebbe goes on the Adar I flourish. I said the Mashiach comes, Abraham is going to be Adar I flourish. So Hashem is going to show us the miracles. So what's the pshat in that? So the Rebbe says, B'negea to Nes And Teva. You can't first name a pashtus. Nes And Teva always a chassidus. You get the truth, this stick with the whole thing, but Nes And Teva always a chassidus. The chassidus Nes And Teva is it's not begili. It's far as the lubish Adar I Teva. So pshat Adar I flourish, you're going to see begili that it's a Nes. But then the Rebbe's father is what's the pshat that Adar I flourish B'negea Nisim Shalom Teva. What's the pshat that Adar I flourish B'negea to Nisim Shalom Teva? So the Kuk explains this. The Rebbe brings a mitzvah Rebbe that in Nisim Teva there is a certain prat which is more begili than Nisim Shalom Teva. What's that nekuda? That by Nes And Teva, even though you it's begili that it's a Nes, but what the person understands is only the mitzvahs of the Nes, not the muhus of the Nes. Nes And Teva, a person sees the muhus of the Nes. That was marshal, is that like Chias Amazing, for example, you see a person's dead, a minute later you see he's alive, you don't understand how he woke up and how he became alive. Nes And Teva, for example, Purim, you see the whole story of Purim. So even though it might take longer than other practice, it's not so peculiar that it's a Nes, to figure out that it's a Nes. Well, the Pearl, you could explain every single detail of what happened, and Eich Nasa HaNes, you could explain exactly how the Nes happened. The Shalachin is a certain prat, the Nes And Teva is more peculiar. That's what Rebbe brings to the mitzvah Rebbe. Then the Rebbe goes on to the Yeshlemer in the next paragraph. That this Nekuda is Be'ikr by Nisim Shem Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisim. Why? Because Nes Teva, that you see it's a Nes, or that you see that it's something out of the ordinary. Far, there's some sort of pella by you. Something by you is absurd. There's a pella. Hey, what's the part of a pella? Pella means that it's certain heaven. That by you, it's not a passion. It's not begili. A pella means that it's beheaven. Mashenkin and Nes, She'ema Nes Makir B'Nisui, is so begili that everything is so passionately. Everything that you saw, you weren't disposed from anything that you saw. And that's what Rebbe says, that this musik of being begili is beikir by Nisim there's a kuda is by Nisim Teva, and that prat is beikir by Nisim She'em Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisui. And then the Rebbe goes in, we'll get to soon, but in Adar 26 and in the Sikha, the next Shabbos, how you don't see it's a Nes. That's not a get, because the fact that you don't realize it's a Nes is not a get, because l'pel you experience any of us come for Natzvus. That's what the Rebbe explained. And I'll present the Rebbe answers the Shabbos, but I'm reflecting that in a certain way, in understanding the Muhus HaNes, Nes And Teva are more begili, and therefore when Mashiach comes, even Nes And Teva, the Rebbe says, like by Kriyas Yamsuf, when you saw the gili that brought about the Nes, you're going to have the musik of Arenu, the musik of gili even more. One of the times I think we see in this Maimer is the first paragraph of Sefei, the Rebbe brought apart from the middle of the Rebbe, and the second paragraph the Rebbe brought of Yeshlemer seems to be the Rebbe's Chiddush. What's the good of the middle Rebbe brings? The good of the middle Rebbe is that in Nes And Teva you have a need of more begili, you see the Muhus HaNes. Well, the interesting thing is that the middle Rebbe, when the middle Rebbe brings this in Sha'ar Munah, and also when the Rebbe brings it, the middle Rebbe only brings it B'negea to Nisim Teva that you see it's a Nes, and also the middle Rebbe says the words of Rabbash Tzifon Leidis that you see that Ira Davar B'Tilagim. Then the Rebbe brings the Yeshlemer. That's the middle Rebbe. The middle Rebbe doesn't mention at all the Ina of Ein Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisim. Come to the Rebbe the Yeshlemer. And then it says the Yeshlemer that this Nekuda that the middle Rebbe tells us, where do we find the Be'ikr by Nisim She'em Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisim? Why? Because the other Nisim is part of Pella. Mashenki Nisim She'em Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisim, it's in Gansen Begili B'Chol Mokim. You have no feeling of anything out of the ordinary in what you saw. The Shtigol Mother, the middle Rebbe is bringing this musik, and he brings about two kinds of Nisim, two kinds of things that happen. The Rebbe comes and says there's a third thing. That's the Ikr part of this thing, and for the other two things really don't have this part of B'Shleimus. Kabun, you can always say it's B'chlolos and Pratis, but it's a shtickle funny that but the middle Rebbe sagt yeah, Zakt the Rebbe is nish, and the middle Rebbe sagt nish, Zakt the Rebbe is yeah. Two things that the middle Rebbe says, this is the Muhus HaNes Begilui. Zakt the Rebbe fart, there's some part of Pella there. the Rebbe said, also held that some sort of color. But to a certain extent, it wasn't Begillah. The Rebbe was talking about a whole different thing, and therefore over there, it's especially Musa Nes Begillah. And the thing that the Rebbe says, Musa Nes Begillah, the Mittel Rebbe, the thing that the Rebbe says, Musa Nes Begillah, mostly, Eimah Nes Ma'akim Nisei, Mittel Rebbe is not, doesn't even talk about, doesn't even touch upon it. So to understand this, and Chedach Pidas, you can understand what's the Chiddush of the Rebbe in this Maimer, the whole sugya of Nes and Teva right now. That Mishneh B'chol is the sugya for Nes and Teva. And starting from, we had the Sikha that we're going to, which is a very serious Sikha, and Chol around Chiddush and Frat Rebbe Steda. So the Kitzer, the Nekud of Nes and Teva, Pashas is a sugya which is a bunch of layers. It keeps on getting more layers. You had the sugya for Nes and Teva, then in each one, Nes and Teva, there's many different brachas. In Nisim, Kama Sugya Nisim, and in Teva, different brachas of Teva that bring out the Kos. Let's just speak about a few young, which will get us a train of thought to think what this matter is coming to add. So we had in the Sikha, we had that there's two young, there's Nes and Teva. And the Rebbe said at the beginning of Sifei in the Sikha, of Taziyah Bash Chedesh Chelik Zayin, that in order to understand the word for Nes and Teva, you have to know what's better than a native to Eisfin and Kavanas and B'yam Megal and Glossy is Baruch. That Nes and Teva, both of them are here to be Megala, the Eibishter's greatness to us. And the Rebbe goes by Arichas in the Sikha, how Nes brings out Yuliyuv. Kecha Blikbo, how in for Hefer from Teva. How Gativis you see Elikus, that Teva is also Elikus. And the end of the Sikha, how they both come together. But the Nikud is that there's Nes and there's Teva, and they're both here to reveal to us the Eibishter's, the Gadlus Hakil, to bring out to us the Eibishter's greatness. That's what we can call both sugyas, both in Yom. Nach dem Isfaran, in Nisim Gufa, Isfaran Sach Daigis. If in Klal, Isfaran Nes and Teva, Nes and Teva. The Maimer also brought over here in the Yisafis, we say Chadash Yud Beis. And over there, the Klal says three chilukim in the Indian of Nes and Teva, Nes and Teva. What's a three chilukim? You have a Nes that's half from Teva, Nes and Teva. For first example, Kriyas Yamsuf. There's a big change in Teva. The mile of that Nes is that it's Begillah. That you see Begillah, the second you see that thing, it's obvious to you that in the Lekiva you see Dulasi is Baruch, like the Rebbe said in the Sikha, you see the Eibishter. Then there's the Nes and Teva. The Nes comes into Teva, and in the Darchei Teva, the Nes is Poyel. But you brought over here in the Maimer, Chanukah Purim, the Sikha, I think the Rebbe said, God, that's found in the heart. Sikha, I think the Rebbe said that Chanukah is actually in Muluch Teva and Purim Nes in Muluch Teva. Some places says Chanukah and Purim are both are Muluch Teva. But let's say Purim, which is Nes and Muluch Teva. So in Teva nothing changed. There's a seed of Mikrim. But L'chayla it's a Nes. It has a Chisarim, L'chayla, that it's not as Begillah. But in that Maimer, the Rebbe says the Pasha it has the Mailah. What's the Mailah? Which the Rebbe also mentioned in our Maimer over here. That the fact that the Nes can be slavish in Teva and is not forced when the Nes is Gal, it breaks Teva, shows that it comes from a higher Shadish that can be Ma'achid Nes and Teva. Then in that moment, the Pizis Chibez, the Rebbe brings a third union, which is not something we get to we're speaking here, that the Musik of Nes ruling over Teva is the Musik of Nes is that it's Moshe B'Shil on the Teva. That it rules over the Teva. And in that Kufa, the Rebbe says, each one has a Ma'ila. Nes Shemana Teva has a Ma'ila, that it rules over Teva L'Gamri. The second, the Nes is Gal, it breaks the Teva, and the Teva is gone. It's that shady. Nes and Teva has a Ma'ila. It has the power to rule over Teva the way it is. Yes, it not a Ma'ila. That's the third thing that Rebbe brings over there. It's not so much to get to what we're speaking now. Speaking now, the first two in Yom. So the mile of Nes and the mile of Teva is that it's Gilui, you see the Nes. The mile of Nes, and look at that it comes from a higher Shadish. So the Pale, once you hear the Nes, you're looking at the hearing of a union which is a higher Shadish. And that's where the middle of Rebbe's Chiddush comes in over here, in the Chiddush of the Rebbe, which Rebbe is bringing in our mind. Because the middle of Rebbe is coming to say, Nishvidar, or a certain prat, that in Nes and Teva has a certain milas like Gilui, even more than a Nes and Teva. Now what's that part? That Afal Pi, the Nes and Teva, is Monta Bislas Beinos, it's going to take longer, it'll be harder to realize that it's Alikus. But when you deher that it's Alikus, you're not just deherring the Metzias of what happened, you deher the Muslim what happened. Almost like, you could say, the Sprach, that the Nes comes to Pnimis by you. When you have a National Ma'il Matava, and you see the Nes, so you see the Nes, and right away, Chapsat by there, that's a Nes. But that Nes, it's not Begillah, it's not the premise of the Nes. To understand the Nes is not Begillah by you. Within the person is a place Kaviyach the Nes didn't reach. The most of the Nes didn't come into his Seichel. Masha'enke, when you have a Nes and Teva, Taka will take longer, Taka will take a bit harder to understand. But you you see the Nes, you understand the Nes, the Pnimis. So really the Nekudah what the Mitzvah was telling us is that there's a musig that the inyan of Gili is not just that you see the Nes, is that it's begili by dir. That within the person's seichel, the Mahus Nes begili, that it's musig in your seichel. Not just, the musig of Gili by Nisim is not just that you see that the Nes happened. It's that this inyan is musig within the person. You have one Nekudah that you saw the Nes and Teva, and that's more revealed. You have a Nekudah within the person, to which part of the person, which shetach of the person did the Nes reach. By the National Teva, it didn't reach your seichel. And that's a little bit it's even begilui b'teich yisech. That's a little bit is even begilui b'teich yisech. If them came and after the Rebbe comes, the Rebbe says the Yeshleima. And when the Rebbe says the Yeshleima, the Rebbe is saying Anayazach. Why? Because the middle of the Rebbe and all the Chidushim until now, it's all coming on one hand. That what we said in the Sikha, that the musig of Nes is to megala the gedula of the Eibishter, to the person. That through seeing a Nes, you see the Gedula of the Eibishter. So there's one mile that you see the Gedula of the Eibishter right away. That's a mile. There's one mile that the Gal of the Eibishter you can understand and it comes Kaviyach of Eibim Pnimi. That's what we said. That's the mitzvah Rebbe. Kum to Rebbe and the Rebbe Zag, that based off what the mitzvah Rebbe said, that the musik of Gili could mean Legabi the Adam, Kim Zag Gora Anderzach. That having the Gili of the Nes is lav dafke telling the fact that you realize that it's coming from the Eibishter. Gili doesn't dafke mean the way we learn always that you see the Nes, that you see that it's coming from the Eibishter. Gili hates as that you use that Legabi you, the thing that happened is begili. If it's coming from a lower daga, if it's coming from a daga that could have a helam on it, there's going to be a place in the person that the thing's not going to be begili. You can have a pellet. And it's good for an atmos. It's impossible for the thing not to be begili. Now that's based off the mitzvah of art, because the mitzvah was mechadish of art. That's the inyan of gilu. Legabi the person that's musig in your seichel comes to the Rebbe says, so a Nes that has any sort of pellet, any sort of place that's not begili by you. Hey, there's a hell in it. And which Nes do we know is begili by the person Legabi? Right? Initially, the person's walking on the street and he sees something happen and he didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Lepil, right now he experienced the Nes. And that's where the Shaila comes, that the Rebbe brings in the Adar and other places, and in the Sikha and Paras Achot Tashan Ches, the Rebbe says, the person, he's walking on the street, so some things he sees are Teva, and some things he sees, there's Anim Nisim. And the Rebbe says, the thing that the Sikha, the Rebbe's Lashon is, that the Inyan for Atzmus is, as the Inyan for Mitzvah is Kach V'Kach. I don't remember exact Lashon, but the Rebbe said that the Inyan of Atzmus is that this thing should occur, that there should be a Nes in this world, certain things should happen, and when the person sees those things happening, even though he doesn't realize that it's coming from the Eibishter, he doesn't realize that it's a Nes, he just now experienced Alikus, he just experienced Atzmus, Eret Gizen Alikus.
The Nes and Teva? Teva also
comes from, that's the part, that it's all about what you're seeing. Teva comes from the lower Shevish. Nes comes, this Nes that you see came from Atzmus. Teva came from a lower place. And that's the Chazoriyah. Till now, we're learning, even after the Rebbe's it's all about the Yudah Head that is the Eibishter. The Rebbe is saying it's not about Yudah Head and the Blessing is Baruch anymore. It's a different cap in the Sikha. It's that you haste is that you see the Eibishter Alim, that you saw Atzmus being put. Even if you didn't know that's the Eibishter. And that's why the Rebbe has the Shaila in the Adar 26, that you don't see because that's Shaila in your Giluim. The Inyan of Atzmus is that Inyan is Ozayim. So Kumtes L'Cheda, that the Rebbe is really taking the mitzvah Rebbe's Vart, but really taking it to a whole new place. Because the mitzvah Rebbe's Vart is all based off the same kav as all the other places. It says that the musik of Gili of a Nes is that the inyan of Alikus is the Gili by you, that you realize the blessing is Vart. Come to the Rebbe's Vart, but if Gili means that it's so musik by you that there's no shilas and there's no part that you don't understand, there's no pella, then even if you don't see the Eibishter, even if you don't realize that it's coming from the Eibishter, if it's begili by you legambe, it's an ordinary occurrence to you, then you experience the Atzmus Alim. A Pizeh, we can answer the Shaila that asked in the beginning. The mitzvah that brings Dafke, the first Nisim. And the Rebbe says, the Shlema, this musik, the Musa Nes Begilui, is Be'ikr by Ibn As Makrim Nisi. It sounds like was the mitzvah Rebbe Zaktiya, the Rebbe Zaknish, was the Rebbe Zaktiya, the Rebbe Zaknish. Because what the mitzvah Rebbe is saying is that when you see a Nes, when you see a Likus, that Likus should be a Pnimius. Now, by a Nes, you don't have that. Because by a Nes, even though it's a Pnimius and it's totally Begillah by you, the Likus is not Begillah. So, in the kav that the mitzvah is going with, which is what we say in Sikh that you're being masik, the Ibish is Gdula, so Ein Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisi, Taka doesn't have that in you. The fact that you have a Likus B'Pnimius doesn't exist by Ein Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisi because you don't see a Likus. And that's the reason why, the same reason that really the thing that the Rebbe says in the next sif, that the fact that these Yonim are L'chayr, you can say that also. Yes, that's the part of the mitzvah Rebbe. That's why the mitzvah Rebbe doesn't mean the word Ein Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisi. And the same word for Keret. You see that the Rebbe brings in the next sif that the L'payel of those two things of Adar I and Nes And Teva, it's far to Pella. It's far to Pella. So the shaila is, if in the way the mitzvah Rebbe is learning, that would also be a shaila. And the way the mitzvah Rebbe is learning, the fact that it's a Pella isn't an issue. Because what's the pshat over here that it's a Pella? Let's say the story of pudding. You understand everything that happened. The Mahus HaNez is musig in your seichel. The Pella is not how it happened. The Pella is that the Inyan happened. And under the Verta, you have some times where you see something happening, and you understand everything that happened, but the fact that all those cases happened, when you put them all together, you're nispal from the fact that it happened. But what happened is not a shayla. The mitzvah of Kum Nisharis Brengi, that the Inyan should be gilli b'chol makim, that in every part of the person should be gilli. The mitzvah of wants that the Mahus HaNes, the Likus that you're seeing, should be the Pnimis, you should understand what happened. The fact that you have a Pella from the roof doesn't take away from the fact that you understand the Nes. The Pella is a whole different. The Pella is that even though I understand everything, I'm nispal from the fact that all these things came together. When the way the Rebbe is learning that the musik is that it's come from Atzmos, therefore it's a gilli b'chol makim in the person. And under the Verter, that if there's any sort of Pella, if there's any place in the person there's a kasher, which means that there's a helim, it's nicht Atzmos. It's not the gilli b'chol makim. And therefore the Rebbe says the musik of Mahus HaNes begilui in this eifin doesn't really apply totally to the Yonim of Nes And Teva and Adar I. And that's why the mitzvah Rebbe doesn't bring Ein Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisi, because the mitzvah is trying to make out the musik that the Nes is begilui, the Likus is begilui. And also the mitzvah Rebbe, the fact that it's a Pella is not an issue, because even though it's a Pella, you first understand the Nes totally. And Mashenki, the Rebbe's part that Ein Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisi, it's dafka Ein Ba'al Nes Makir B'Nisi, because it has to be begilui b'chol makim, and any Pella, and Eli Helam, and any Kasha is already an issue, and it already shows that it doesn't come from a place that from Atzmos that's begilui b'chol makim. Yeah, I think everything is organized. Time.